Gentlemen, Super Tuesday's over, and with that, Nikki Haley will no longer be in this race. I don't have my watch on because I had to charge it. In 12 minutes, Nikki Haley will no longer be in this race. We will bring you that speech live. I was replied by Marianne Williamson last night. We can talk about that. And anything else that you would like to see. Right now, there is no new posts on Nikki Haley's Twitter. Oh, we're hot, aren't we? Yeah, because I had to reboot. Let's take that on down. Take it down to Chinatown. There we go. All right, we should be better now. Sorry, there's tech stuff. I had a light that was being weird. Things are going on. Okay. Campaign Undertaker is here, or at least will be in 12 minutes. We are looking for the best place to stream that. Nikki Haley, according to reports, is not expected to endorse anybody, although she will encourage Donald Trump to win the nomination. So that would suggest, and we will be very closely parsing her words there, that would suggest that she will probably eventually endorse Trump. But unless she goes out there and says, Donald Trump's an abomination, I'm dropping out, and the Republican Party has kicked me out, then I think we're probably looking at her endorsing in the future. The mushrooms are through the system. I will say, last night on Great Night, I was gifted for my birthday mushrooms that were purchased in a vape shop, a bar of chocolate. I thought this stuff was CBD. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I didn't think that you could really sell mushrooms in chocolate in a vape shop in Austin, Texas. You know, sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you, and sometimes you have to call your wife to come pick up your car because you don't want to drive it back home. You know, that's just the name of the game. All right. We are keeping an eye on C-SPAN. Because I would assume that they will handle it. Otherwise, we can play the audio on YouTube TV. But I would also imagine that Nikki Haley's own Twitter account would stream it.
Biden-Harris 2024 campaign. Michael Tyler. Michael, great to see you. Who is, do you think, the Nikki Haley voter? Describe to me who that person is.
Well, good morning, and thanks so much for having me. Yeah, listen, I think Nikki Haley's voters have made it very clear exactly who they are.
All right, that's CNN. We will have that there, although we will not be able to. We will not be able to show you it if it is on CNN.
And moving forward, even throughout the beginning of the Republican primary process, they're now rejecting Donald Trump and MAGA extremism moving forward. So if you agreed with Nikki Haley when she stood up to Trump for things like election denialism.
So there we go. Now we have a Biden-Harris spokesman on CNN discussing why you should really vote for Joe Biden. Why Nikki Haley voters for should vote for Joe Biden. Steve Garvey versus Adam Schiff. Who would have thought that two Dems wouldn't be in the running? Well, Adam Schiff, who spent a lot of money boosting Steve Garvey. This is a huge failure for Katie Porter. Took a swing and a miss, a massive win for the Pelosi machine in California. Folks, they don't miss. They don't miss. The Pelosi machine has that state on a rail. It didn't matter how much they had to drag Dianne Feinstein to her literal grave. It doesn't matter how much Adam Schiff is looked at as kind of a weasel man. Look, that is what it is.
Achieved so far. There's still work to do, right? The work that he has done to lessen the burden of student loan debt, right, to the tune of $138 billion, with billions left to go.
We are ready for your cutting edge take. Yeah. I don't have a ton. I mean, most of what I needed to say about Nikki, I've already said. I have not gotten a chance to dig through the nitty gritty on Super Tuesday. I will be totally honest with you. I spent the evening on Great Night, and then I went to sleep. So I woke up this morning, I got my workout in, and now I am here. Nikki Haley is dropping out, and we will watch that. If one day they find bones buried in his basement, I would not be surprised. Schiff has a vibe to him. Look, he is going to be Senator Schiff. That's that. Steve Garvey has no shot. No shot. The only chance that somebody other than Adam Schiff being Senator of California was if Katie Porter made the ballot. She couldn't do it. I think they're both flawed candidates. I do think that there are downsides. Katie Porter's temper and the way that she's treated her staffers, I think, was a ticking time bomb. Adam Schiff is insanely unlikable to anybody but far-left Democrats, but we're in California. Play to the audience, right? Look, if they want to hear the Macarena for the 50,000th time, then play them the Macarena.
Sometimes the lows of bipolar depression feel darkest before dawn. With Caplyta, there's a chance to let in the light. Caplyta is proven to deliver.
All right, we are keeping an eye here on C-SPAN to see whether or not they go live with this. But it looks like right now the only thing that they have marked as live is the State of the Union tomorrow night, which we will not be live for. Unfortunately, we will not be live for the State of the Union because my wife got reservations for a restaurant that we really, really wanted to go to. I forgot it was the State of the Union. Happy wife, happy life. I'm sure you all will understand. There are two types of party nerds. The person who shows up to your house 3 hours early and those who won't leave. Nikki Haley is the rare double party nerd. That is maybe the most accurate thing I've read this morning. The State of the Union is boring and lame. Yes, and you know I like to pay attention to things that campaigns say are important because I believe that it shows you the competency of execution of a campaign. So, for example, although I defended it, and I will say that take has not aged particularly well, but I defended Ron DeSantis going on Twitter Spaces. Ultimately, that was them putting a lot of faith into things that they could not control. That was a bad decision. The mockery that ensued over that was massive. And so you have to judge them for that. And I would say the same about various other different campaign situations where you say like, all right, listen to this, big speech, and the speech isn't great. Or they bungle some of the messaging or something weird happens. The Biden campaign has said the State of the Union is the beginning of their campaign. Now, you might ask, why did you wait so long? They will say, calm down. Calmate. This is the beginning. We are speaking to the nation. We are framing the arguments, and we are going to use the bully pulpit of the presidency to demonstrate that this country is on the right track. So Nikki doesn't endorse Trump. What do her followers do? Well, her followers, Nikki will reportedly encourage Donald Trump to win her followers. She will encourage him to win the nomination and woo her voters. Now, I wonder if there's any solutions that Nikki Haley would have to woo her voters. I don't know. Would there be any like very plausible solutions that she could think of? I don't know. We do have a dog here, by the way. If you can hear the dog. There's a little dog. His name is Sisyphus. We are watching him because our neighbors are out of town in Hawaii. All right. This is a speech in her home of Charleston, South Carolina, or outside of her home. She lives on a private island, but in Charleston on the coast of South Carolina. If anybody can find a free stream here, I will be happy to take it. Because otherwise we will only be able to play the audio. But I don't see Nikki promoting it on her Twitter account.
The support of those voters. She has repeatedly said throughout the entire course of her campaign that the Republican Party needs to be a party of addition, and she doesn't believe that Trump has been approaching his campaign that way. She has talked about the fact that she wants to...
And I got replied by Marianne Williamson last night. That's also fun.
This was a decision that she made last night as her campaign was monitoring the results that were coming in. Jeff Zeleny spoke with a source, an aide on the campaign, who said that it was when they were monitoring those results that they determined that she wasn't going to hit the benchmarks that they had set, that she wasn't going to do well enough to keep her campaign alive. Now, you should note that Nikki Haley did win 2 states, D.C. and Vermont, throughout the course of this Republican primary. She did not win enough voters, however, to keep her campaign alive.
Yes, darn it.
As the former president. But her campaign does feel like she attracted enough support from Republican voters to really make the case that there is a significant block of the Republican...
Gosh darn it. The only thing about this chat is that it's really hard to click links.
Them today, saying in her speech today that he needs to make outreach to those voters. One of the things to note is that last summer, Nikki Haley did say that she would endorse the eventual nominee of the Republican Party, but it has been just really in recent days, Wolf, where she has distanced herself from that pledge. She has said that she doesn't feel like she is obligated to do that because the RNC is not the same RNC.
Okay, so we have local South Carolina news here. So we will take CNN out. We will plug South Carolina local news in. And we will be able to bring that up here on the screen. There we go. Take my image over here. Full screen that. Turn on my PIP. And let's get some audio.
But just very well known. And her bills were also submitted, but they were the same rate. They were $250 an hour, but they were much lower bills, not anywhere near the bills that Mr. Wade did.
Do you know how much Anna Cross has received during the course of this criminal prosecutions or
I'm not sure.
investigations?
I might. Let's see.
Okay. You said Mr. Wade had about 700,000 so far.
Yeah.
All right, you can see that Nikki Haley has taken to the podium right there. So we are going to transition as she expected to announce her suspension of her presidential
here we go.
I said the campaign was grounded in my love for our country. Just last week, my mother, a first-generation immigrant, got to vote for her daughter for president. Only in America. I am filled with the gratitude for the outpouring of support we've received from all across our great country. But the time has now come to suspend my campaign. I said I wanted Americans to have their voice.
Doesn't sound like there's much of a crowd.
I have done that. I have no regrets. And although I will not stop using my voice for the things I believe in. Our national debt will eventually crush our economy. A smaller federal government is not only necessary for our freedom, it is necessary for our survival. The road to socialism is the road to ruin for America. Our Congress is dysfunctional and only getting worse. It is filled with followers, not leaders. Term limits for Washington politicians are needed now more than ever. Our world is on fire because of America's retreat. Standing by our allies in Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan is a moral imperative. But it's also more than that. If we retreat further, there will be more war, not less. As important, while we stand strong for the cause of freedom, we must bind together as Americans. We must turn away from the darkness of hatred and division. I will continue to promote all those values, as is the right of every American. I sought the honor of being your president. But in our great country, being a private citizen is privilege enough in itself. And that's a privilege I very much look forward to enjoying. In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well. I wish anyone well who would be America's president. Our country is too precious to let our differences divide us. I have always been a conservative Republican and always supported the Republican nominee.
Here we go.
But on this question, as she did on so many others, Margaret Thatcher provided some good advice when she said, quote, "Never just follow the crowd. Always make up your own mind." It is now up to Donald Trump to earn the votes of those in our party and beyond it who did not support him. And I hope he does that. At its best, politics is about bringing people into your cause, not turning them away. And our conservative cause badly needs more people. This is now his time for choosing. I end my campaign with the same words I began it, from the book of Joshua. I direct them to all Americans, but especially to so many of the women and girls out there who put their faith in our campaign. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for God will be with you wherever you go. In this campaign, I have seen our country's greatness. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, America. God bless you.
Well, that sounds like mostly staff. Does not sound like supporters. She does not take any questions, and she is gone.
There you
Ladies
have it,
and gentlemen, Nikki
presidential hopeful
Haley,
Nikki Haley
is
announcing that she is suspending
no
her
longer
presidential campaign.
in this race. I agree. A weirdly worded speech that doesn't really give us a ton of signs of where she's gonna go. Like the initial. All right, so she comes out and says she's leaving. Okay, well there we go. I mean, this is let's all remember that we are in the most fractious moment of a primary. You always say the most screwed up stuff that you can say at the very, very end, right before you quit. This is when you are the furthest apart on either side. It is always a bit of a pull to get people back together after that. But look, I don't know if anybody could hate a group more than the Clintons did the Obamas in 2008. They stood together by the end. You know, I don't know if anybody could be so mad at Donald Trump that they would go on stage at the Republican convention and not endorse him and get booed for it. But then Ted Cruz endorsed him. So history says that Nikki Haley will come home. She has spent her entire career building a base within the Republican Party for wherever it's changed. It would still be the most likely place that she would build it unless she feels really, 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 really sure that she can port a fraction of that people outside of the party and either move it into the Democratic side or, take it third party. But I don't really think that there's a home for her right now naturally and anything else that's more of a fit in the Republican Party. So if she wants to be the GOP nominee in 2028, you have to make peace with Trump. You don't have to rush. I don't think it's a bad idea that she didn't endorse here. I think that's fine. It happens. I do think that she is very much saying, I want to be a part of the future of the Republican Party. She is asking Trump, do you want me to be? Now, Donald Trump probably will say, I don't care. Do you want to be a part of my Republican Party? You do not call the shots. Big Chungus calls the shots. And the shots say, shut your mouth and know your role. Jabroni, how about you come down to the SmackDown Hotel? Because it doesn't matter what you think. You have to make peace with Trump if he loses in November. No, your standing in the Republican Party is going to be judged on whether or not you brought people home. A lot of these people want to play 5D chess and be like, oh, she'll just sit on the sidelines. And then if Trump loses, she'll say, I told you so. But you don't get to do that if you want to stay in any kind of standing with the Republican Party right now. If Nikki Haley is looked at as a reason, and by the way, when candidates lose, when big major party candidates lose, there is no limit. No limit. Make them say, no limit to the amount of people that they will blame. Nikki Haley will be on that list if she remains recalcitrant. If she wants to stay in the party, she is going to endorse Donald Trump. It's just what happens historically. In fact, someone jogged my memory. When's the last time it didn't? When's the last time that the last person standing in a primary didn't endorse that candidate? Might have been late. Might have been at the convention, but didn't endorse them. Is she an effective fundraiser? Yes. The question is, will she be an effective fundraiser with Trump at the top of the ticket? Because a lot of the money she raised was from never Trumpers and Democrats. Bernie endorsed Hillary, right? Hillary endorsed Obama. Cruz eventually endorsed Trump. And I don't think that things got as nasty with Nikki as it did with Cruz. I mean, he went after Cruz's wife. I guess Trump a little bit went after Nikki's husband, though. There's a lot of stuff. You don't have to scratch the surface, man. Get into some of those replies of like the Trump meme guys with Nikki. There are some like explicit rumors about Nikki Haley. Is it the same if she just stays silent as if she's vocal and refuses to do so? Yes. If Trump loses. If Trump loses, especially if he loses in the way that he did in 2020, then she'll be blamed. She didn't unite the party. The way that a party works is you fight like cats and dogs during a primary, and then you come together. Right now, over me. That's just what happens. That's how it goes. So, like, the concept that this is going to end any other way than her endorsing is reliant on the idea that she is out of either professional politics in general, and that's what our friend Michael Cohen says. Don't doubt her just going back to the boards. She did mention how much she was excited to be a private citizen. So that would be a hint. That would be, she's like, screw you guys. I'm going home. Home is the board of Boeing Airlines. I'm done. I don't want to hear about how my husband's deployed. I don't want to hear people saying my given name when I haven't used it my entire life. I just don't want to hear it. You want to know what? 2-term governor, UN ambassador. That's great. If my kids want to run, then we'll shine them up real nice and we'll understand where the wind is blowing. But guess what? I don't have a natural place here. I don't have a natural spot in this party. I really don't think that Trump is a good guy. I've never thought that Trump is a good guy. I played the game. I tried to win. I couldn't. Deuces. But if I'm on the way out and I genuinely don't care, I'm going to check my red jersey at the door, then you're not getting my endorsement. Hasta luego, friends. And if that's the case, then there'll be a question of, how much is their reach out from the Trump folks? We've seen, a kinder, gentler MAGA relative to MAGA over the last few months. There's a sense that maybe all of the knife fighting is not as cute when you're on top as it was when you were fighting from the bottom. So maybe denigrating the McCain family in Arizona, not so great, Maybe not so great. Maybe Carrie Lake needs to reach out to Meghan McCain. Now, Meghan McCain's response to that was, no peace, bitch. So even if you do have a kinder, gentler MAGA that is saying, hey, come on, you want to know what? We won. We run the party now. Donald Trump is Ronald Reagan. And it's time to come back in. It's time to come back in. Bring those voters that tell them all, look, things got a little wild, Things got a little crazy. Things got a little out of hand. And I know you're not wild about Trump, but just repeat after me. Thumb and pointer finger, right? You're going to pinch those together over your nose, and then you're going to hit the red button in November. It's just that simple. If she's blamed by the right for Trump losing, will the left see her as a hero? For 5 seconds. Nobody on the other side actually likes defectors. They don't. There's a sugar high for a second, but nobody really likes defectors. They're not of that side. Nikki Haley could be a speaker in all the different scenarios. Nikki Haley could be a speaker at the DNC, but she would never really be a Democrat. I don't think she'd run for office as a Democrat. She is pro-life. Yeah. And look, the thing that she talks the most about is the deficit. And that would be the hardest pill to swallow if she were to endorse or in any way come in on the side of a Democrat, is that it's like, they don't give a rat's ass about the deficit. They don't talk about it. You're more likely to hear Democrats in Congress talk about how money's a fake concept than, that we need to deal with the deficit. Neither does Trump. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he is not a budget hawk in the way that Republicans traditionally were. Largely because he looks at a few things as issues that he wants to take off the table for the Democrats, and Social Security is probably the biggest one. And so where you had the Paul Ryan types who were like, no, we're just going to adjust Social Security. We're not going to take it away, but we got to make it solvent. So we need to deep. Entitlement reform was a big deal for him because he felt that was like the biggest thing that you needed to do to balance the budget. And according to many people that I respect, he's not wrong. But does that win you elections? Well, with Paul Ryan, it didn't. Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney, not the case. Donald Trump says, I don't care. I know old people like Social Security. They get scared when you talk about it. So I'm going to take that off the table. Ted Kennedy didn't concede to Jimmy Carter until the second day of the convention in the 1980 election. So and look, Ted Cruz went after that. Ted Cruz didn't endorse at the convention and then endorsed afterward. It always happens, no matter how nasty it seems right now. President Biden saying here, Donald Trump has made it clear he doesn't want Nikki Haley's supporters. I want to be clear. There's a place for them in my campaign. Here we go. We have a full statement from Mr. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Takes a lot of courage to run for president. That's especially true in today's Republican Party, where so few dare to speak the truth about Donald Trump. Nikki Haley was willing to speak the truth about Trump and the chaos that always follows him, about his inability to see right from wrong, his cowering before Vladimir Putin. Donald Trump made it clear he doesn't want Nikki Haley supporters. I want to be clear. There's a place for them in my campaign. I know that there's a lot we won't agree on, but on the fundamental issues of preserving American democracy and standing for the rule of law and treating each other with decency and dignity and respect, on preserving NATO and standing up to America's adversaries, I hope and believe that we can find common ground. We all know that this is not an ordinary election. The stakes for America couldn't be higher. I know that Democrats and Republicans and independents disagree on many issues and hold strong convictions. That's a good thing. That's what America stands for. But also know this: what unites Democrats and Republicans and independents is a love for America. I don't quite know if Joe Biden knows how far left he's viewed, because he got elected as a center-left president. But from independents and certainly from Republicans, I think he's looked at as further to the left than he thinks he is. I think he still thinks it's 95. We'll be curious to look for a statement from Chungus. Let's keep our truth socials in hand. Let's see. Truth. Well, here is Trump 20 minutes ago. Nikki Haley got trounced last night in record-setting fashion, despite the fact that Democrats, for reasons unknown, are allowed to vote in Vermont and various other Republican primaries. Much of her money came from radical left Democrats, as did many of her voters, almost 50% according to the polls. At this point, I hope she stays in the quote-unquote race and fights it out until the end. I'd like to thank my family, friends, and the great Republican Party for helping me to produce, by far, the most successful Super Tuesday in history. I would further like to invite all the Haley supporters to join the greatest movement in the history of our nation. Biden is the enemy. He is destroying our country. Make America great again. So, not exactly magnanimous, not exactly rolling out the red carpet. I mean, Haley and Biden do align on foreign policy. I haven't really heard, no one in the Republican Party really wants to touch the Gaza button. Everyone's like, you want to know what, Joe? Good luck with all that. Enjoy. The most Trump will say is, would have never happened under me. Never happened. Would not. Hamas would have thought about doing it. Hamas. They would have woken up on October 7th and said, should we do it? And then they would have said, what about Trump? Trump will not be happy. Wouldn't have done it. But nobody else wants to do it. Haley certainly hasn't. Haley's not like, oh, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. Victoria Nuland is out. We're going to be talking about that on We're Not Wrong today. It's a very Jen Briney wheelhouse. We're Not Wrong. We're talking about Nancy Pelosi's NVIDIA trades, the new fast food minimum wage law in California, and for the Patreon, the Victoria Nuland retirement party. Jen's gonna have to be the workhorse on this one because I'm sure not. But yeah, right now it looks fractious. It looks fractious. Certainly a lot more magnanimous words coming out of the White House than out of Mar-a-Lago right now. But, you know, again, the only real question for Haley is, does she have a future in politics? First question. Second question, if she does have a future in politics, is she willing to leave behind what she has built in the Republican Party? If the answer to the first one is no, then all bets are off. If the answer to the first one is yes, she does want to remain in politics, then I would assume that the answer to the second question is also yes. Oh, Kirsten Sinema's out. Good Lord. Where will Sinema land? Finn at the cinema. She will no longer be Arizona's senator, taking herself out of the race, which will now be a 1v1 contest. Carrie Lake versus Ruben Gallego. Right now, Gallego is polling ahead. But there is a real phenomenon of Trump leading in a lot of these swing states, but the Senate candidates trailing. And I don't know how that plays out on election day. Like, if Donald Trump wins Arizona by 3, right? Like, let's look at the Real Clear Politics average here now. Oh, damn it. Well, here, let's take a look at this. This is an example. This is Montana, Hill Emerson poll. They got Trump plus 21 in the 5-way race, Trump plus 21 in the 2-way race. Doesn't really matter, right? The man's blowing out everybody in Montana. But look at the Senate race. Oops, John Tester, 44. Sheehy, the Republican, 42. Now, look, Tester's a sitting senator. You would expect him to probably outperform. But to outrun by 23 points, will that hold? I don't know. Sheehy's new, but if Trump is putting the Iggy on everybody and saying, hey, this is it, up and down the ticket, we need as many Republicans in the Senate as possible. Are Trump voters that are that juiced, right? Plus 21 juiced, not going to drag Sheehy. Here's a general election poll that favors Biden. Trying to find an Arizona poll. Senate polls. Montana, California. Yeah, look at this. I mean, Garvey, this is going to be the race here. Garvey Schiff, and it's a blowout. It looks like Mike Rogers will be the Republican nominee in Michigan. He's going to beat Peter Mayer and Heaton's wet dream, Justin Amash. Amash isn't going to get out of the primary. Come on. The man wasn't in the party 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. All right, so here we go. Two polls here in a three-way. Arizona Senate, Lake Gallego Cinema. Gallego is up in both of those. So the question is, we're going to find out real quick exactly where does that cinema share go. One-on-one polling shows that Gallego would probably take more of the cinema share than Lake would. And if that's the case, then Gallego is a prohibitive favorite in the Senate. Gerbs, he needs a populist Congress and a Senate to do any change. Populist versus corporatists are where we are in history. I mean, depending on what you want to do. If you want to pass tax cuts, you need just somebody with an R next to their name. Larry Hogan's going to get elected to the Senate in Maryland by running against Trump as a Republican. And guess what he's going to do? Probably vote with Trump 80% of the time. Pat the Weirdo, yeah, I mean, the Michigan GOP is broke. They're a lot like the Florida Democrats. A lot of that gets erased when you have a gigantic presidential election like we are seeing now. You'll see a lot of rapid investment, a lot of money go into it, and ultimately, Trump's going to be in Michigan a lot. Trump's going to be on stage with Mike Rogers a lot. You know, that is the other side of the Sheehy thing is like he's probably not going to be in Montana that much, but he'll sure be in Michigan. He'll be in Wisconsin. He'll be in Ohio. He'll be in Pennsylvania. He's going to be on stage with McCormick a lot. For those of you just joining, yes, Nikki Haley has dropped out of the Republican primary. And then there was one. The Chungus stands alone. He will be your Republican nominee. Nikki Haley bowed out without, she congratulated Trump, but did not endorse him and said that it was up to Trump to win her voters. She gave a nod to being a private citizen. So maybe she's out. We don't know. By the way, this was the tweet from yesterday. I voted for Marianne Williamson in the Texas primary because my friend from middle school came to a live We're Not Wrong last year and chided me for calling her orb mommy on stage. I consider this debt repaid. Marianne Williamson, gotta love those kids, winky face. I texted my friend who that was a real story. I texted my friend that last night. And she said, best birthday gift ever. You gave me a birthday gift on your own birthday. Are there any early Maryland polls for Hogan? He's popular here, but I don't know how well it translates. I voted for him for governor, but Senate would be a tougher sell. Well, we don't know who he would be running against. I think Trone, one of the Total Wine founder, is the most likely Democrat that would run against him. But I think, I mean, if you just look at his electoral prowess and the fact that he's running against Trump, he's running as a never Trumper. Put a never Trumper that you trust in the Senate. It's about as compelling as you're going to get a Republican running in Maryland ever. I don't know that you could make him in a lab. Yeah, Marianne. She obviously has a tremendous message. I think that she's a very, very a powerful speaker. And I do think that the overall message that she has very much has an audience. It's just, look, politics is a contact sport. And either you got to be throwing elbows, either you got to be painting a line in the sand that says I'm different and you're not, or you're not. And at the end of the day, also, it's like, it really depends on the crowd. You know, the only race I really cared about was Travis County District Attorney. That's where Austin is. Because I don't like the district attorney. I think the district attorney reminds me of the district attorneys in the Bay Area, and hashtag never again. I have a new rule. I don't want to think my district attorneys are good people. I want to be disagreeing with my district attorneys. I want to be saying that's fucked up. You put too many people in jail. That's what I want to say. Because I think we've looked over the last few years, at least in the cities that I've lived in, on what putting too few people in jail looks like. Not great, Bob. Not great. There's a lunatic who roams around my neighborhood, the chainsaw in the woods, been arrested, from what I've read, 3 times. He tweaks out and chisels rock from the sidewalk. He then uses that rock to build statues of crosses. And I'm using air quotes for statues. He lays a bunch of rocks on the ground in the shape of a cross. I'm going to take a wild guess and say the man is not mentally well and probably needs professional help. I do believe he is a prime candidate for a state-sponsored intervention in terms of mental health and behavior. He is a constant source of terror on our local neighborhood message boards. The man's been arrested 3 times. and he just keeps getting back out. I saw him a couple months ago, tweaking out, chiseling the sidewalk. But the guy who was running against him was backed by an organization in Austin called Save Austin Now. Well, they didn't say that they were them. I'm sure it was a splinter group of somebody like that. Save Austin Now won a tremendous victory by pushing to reverse the camping ban. That essentially legalized people being able to pitch tents on public property. That was very popular. They followed it up with trying to do an expansion of police. Didn't work. And then apparently elements of that group tried to push this DA guy. And through all my research, I think that this DA guy was a good solution. He was, he's a liberal dude, but he believes that there's a lot of inexperience in the current district attorney's office, and that compassion and running out a lot of experienced prosecutors means that when you do need the law, like in a domestic violence case, you are not serving your constituents if you have overworked attorneys. But that group, somebody in supporting the DA, put a mailer out that said Jose Garza he's the DA, is making deals with pedophiles, and it had like a picture of a teddy bear with blood on it. It was like gnarly. And ultimately, the only thing that people wound up talking about was how mean that mailer was. You gotta know your audience. Austin is a soft-hearted bunch of NIMBYs. If you don't speak to the fact that they really want to be touchy-feely, but they also really, really, really like their property, then you can't win. You can't push them like you would push Dallas. You can't push them like you would push Houston. But I do not like the DA. I do think that the DA stinks. That's just my opinion. I used to live near a guy who every single Saturday night would get drunk and sit on his front porch shouting expletives and pointing his gun at anybody who passed by. There were so many complaints and police reports filed. Eventually, he shot a guy, and then the cops got truly involved. Are there still a lot of homeless in Austin imported, or are they from Austin? I have no idea. I have no idea where the homeless in Austin are from. Yeah, I don't know. Have I ever ate in the underground food court in DC? No, I have not. Will we do calls? Sure, let's do calls. Let's do calls, huh? Let's do calls. Let's put the call now. 510 404 80 30. How was the birds versus squirrels battle? It was successful during the winter, and then the squirrels have been back in a big way since it's warmed up a little bit. All right. Gates are open. Give us a call. 510-404-8030. Again, 510-404-8030. The lines, well, friends, they're open. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Merrill Barr. Welcome back to the show.
Justin, how are you on the first day of your 42nd year? 41st year.
Yeah, I mean, you almost aged me a year there.
I'm surprised you're streaming. I really had my money on you weren't going to stream, so I didn't set my alarm this morning for it. After last night's show.
No, well, I mean, it was mushrooms. It wasn't alcohol, so didn't have a hangover.
Fair.
No, I was up my normal time, up at 5:30. Got my workout in, and, rocking and rolling.
So my political question of the day
Go ahead.
is, I noticed something interesting yesterday, at least at the California side in my circle, as people were talking about who they voted for the primary.
Yep.
And there was a lot of people who were saying I will out myself as one of them. I did not vote for Biden. I didn't vote for anyone on the presidential primary ticket. I voted down ballot for other things.
Yeah.
But I didn't vote for anyone in my primary in California.
Yeah.
And I didn't take a single lick of shit for it. And what I'm wondering is, I'm not saying it won't be rhetoric in November, but is it possible that we're not going to see as big rhetoric this year against third party and non-voters as we normally do, considering the fact that everyone kind of hates both major candidates this year?
No, that's not possible.
Do you think it could be less?
No, it'll be more.
Really?
The smaller the pie, the sharper the knives, my friend. No. Do you really believe that your crowd isn't going to be worked into an absolute frenzy that the world is going to end if Donald Trump is president again by the time that November rolls around?
I've never seen this much hate for the front runner of the Democratic Party.
Well, welcome to the party, pal. Like, come on. You know that they're going to be freaked out. So unless you are telling me that Trump is less of a boogeyman to them, then this isn't going to be about Biden. It's going to be against Trump.
I mean,
also,
okay,
who cares about a non-competitive primary? This is a non-competitive primary. Nobody cares about that.
By the way, can we talk about that for a second? Because we were making jokes at the beginning of the primary, how excited you were because you were going to get to finally cover a primary after 8 years of being denied one. And then you finally got one.
Well, 4 years.
It's non-competitive.
Well, I mean, it was non-competitive on the Democratic side in the way that it was non-competitive in 2020 on the Republican side. I didn't get my absolute dream of a double-barreled primary. I'll have to wait for 28 for that. But that's the shit right there. That's big time. That's the fillet of the political world, are double-barreled primaries. You got to love those. But yeah, no, I mean, look,
I want you to realize how wide your eyes got when you said that, just so you know.
Oh, I mean, I don't do this for work. I get paid to do what I like. Like,
so, okay,
that's
so the rhetoric. So it's going to be really bad. Like, I have never. Let me just say, here's where I'm at right now. I have always voted Democrat. This could be the first year where I just don't vote for a president.
Oh, shut up! Stop it.
That's
You're
where
embarrassing
I'm at right
yourself. You're embarrassing yourself. Come on.
I don't know yet.
Come on. Look, Gaza's going to be done by the time that the November rolls around, right? The entire Major League Baseball season will be played between now and when we vote. There's a long time, okay? Gaza's going to be done. We might have a resolution in Ukraine. The economy will probably be better, might be a little bit worse. And Donald Trump will still be Donald Trump. Like, we've gotten to the point now where Donald Trump doesn't really have to say anything all that crazy and it becomes a story. Like, the stuff that he's getting rung up for now isn't nearly as crazy as the stuff he said in 2016. Like, they're getting him on the NATO story where he was telling an old story about how he got more money out of NATO. Not saying in the future that he wanted Russia to attack. He was saying in the past, he got more money out of these countries by saying, hey, you got to pay up or NATO doesn't function the way that it normally does. He's a dictator for a day, which it's like, He was talking about executive orders, something that every president does. So it's like there's the stuff, the hair trigger on this is so much, and the volume is going to get so loud that you will see people saying, especially in LA, this is the end of democracy. The end of democracy if Donald Trump wins. I don't like Biden. I think he's too old, but geez, come on. I don't want democracy to be over. I don't want everything to fall apart. There's going to be a civil war. You saw the movie. It's going to be exactly like that. Trump is Ron Swanson.
I am so excited for that movie, by the way. That movie is so my kind of movie. It's 90 minutes long. It's a war. It's The Siege. Did you see in the 90s the Denzel Bruce Willis movie, The Siege?
Not that I remember, no.
It's directed by Ed Zwick. It's awesome. It's about a bomb goes off on a bus, and then martial law is instituted in the state of New York, or the city of New York City, and it's so 90s, 90s insanity. I love it. That's what that movie looks like, and I cannot wait. There's all this bullshit of like, well, why would California and Texas ever team up? Like, I don't give a shit. Just that movie looks like everything I want out of a silly movie right now.
But do you think that A24 is going to make a silly movie, or are they going to make a really preachy movie that will have action every 20 minutes?
A24, according to the reports, is trying to break into that like silly blockbuster like move, but do it their way. That's why they put money behind.
But I think their way is, let's make a super preachy movie.
But that's the 90s. That's the 90s.
That's
right?
not the 90s. No, stop it. Not like that.
Like I was
not like that.
So I have a funny double feature now.
Okay.
So last week I watched the movie Parkland. Do you know Parkland from 2013?
No.
It is the movie about the 3 days that followed the JFK assassination, and it's 90. It had like a stacked cast of like Billy Bob Thornton and what's that fucker's name? The guy from the Iron Claw that played the main brother, whose name is Zac Efron.
Yeah,
Zac Efron was in it. Marsha Gay Harden was in it. Like David Harbour was in it. Like a lot of people were. Paul Giamatti's in it, playing Zapruder. And it was beautiful as a movie to me because it was like a 90s. It wasn't. Everyone's in that movie thinking they're in an Oscar bait drama, right? But the movie is structured and moves as if it's a 90s historical thriller. And it's really fun to watch. Then as a follow-up that weekend, I watched JFK for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting to me because those two movies are basically the opposite of each other. The movie that Parkland is the movie JFK should be, and the movie that JFK is the movie Parkland should be.
Yeah.
And I just found that really fascinating. So my point being that I think that I'm gonna get something similar to that Parkland is what I'm probably gonna get out of Civil War, is what I think. And I'm very excited for that.
I think it's just gonna be full, where oh God, I probably even shouldn't say this.
There you say it. Come on, you're 41. You can say whatever you want.
No,
You're almost at old man
I don't
territory.
know. This is the problem with also getting older and actually being successful, is that you realize you're closer to the people that you would like to talk shit about. It's like, did you hear Tina Fey? Tina Fey was on Bo and Yang's podcast where
hear this already. Go on.
Yeah, where she was like, sorry, you're too famous to have opinions.
I did hear. Oh yeah, I did see that clip.
Yeah, she's like, you want to know what? You can have those. You can tell them to your friends at a dinner party. You do not say them online, and you certainly don't say them on podcasts, because at some point you could be making fun of Saltburn, and that's great, and it'd be a hilarious podcast. Everybody will laugh, and then the next day you're gonna realize that you have to read to be the librarian in that dude's new movie, and you're not gonna want that.
That was after the girl from The Bear that won the Emmy. She had shit on
J-Lo.
Yeah.
And J-Lo was on the show, right? She was the musical guest when she was hosting SNL.
Yeah. And then she had to she used to say she went to J-Lo and apologized.
Yeah, but look, there are people that I find to be extraordinarily interesting writers and filmmakers that are not as deep political thinkers or social thinkers as they think they are, in my opinion. And sometimes you have a filmmaker who makes really, really good stuff or really interesting stuff, but really they find it very important that they need to make a political point. But the political point is shallow and stupid and ultimately takes away from the fact that they do other good stuff, and I think that's always, not my favorite. They're never my favorite works of these kinds of writer and directors.
Wow, you really covered that one, because I know I know the name of the person on the directed Civil War, so I'm shocked that okay.
Well, and Garland, look, and I don't know, maybe Civil War is not as brain dead as it looks. Maybe.
No, I think it's perfect. I think it's amazingly brain dead. That's why I'm excited to watch
No,
it.
but that's the problem, is that you keep saying like, oh, 90s was preachy. No, the 90s had a point, but it was usually wrapped around something that was specifically electric. Like, if this was a Civil War movie surrounding the inciting incident of the Civil War, I'd be more interested in it. But it's not. It seems to be a travelogue of a current Civil War areas for which the hero's a journalist. Yawn.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Like, and meanwhile, it's like we're gonna see like, oh, the people that are on the sidelines, even during a civil war, they have their head in the sand. I wonder what that's analogous to. Like, oh, there's a brutal authoritarian and he's killing Americans, but nobody wants to challenge him and blah blah blah. Like, I don't know. It's, again, if this were a very preachy thing about an authoritarian who pushes, let's say it's civil war, but it's like January 6th was really an insurrection, I'm in for that, because at least there's action and conflict.
Speaking of preaching movies, did you see that it was announced yesterday that Adam McKay's next movie is going to be a climate change movie? And my only thought was, didn't we do that one already?
When are they not? When are they not?
Like, but like, particularly,
I wonder what his message is. I feel like we finally need to find out, where does Adam McKay come down on climate change? I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to take a wild guess that Adam McKay was pissed off that people liked Don't Look Up and didn't get his message clearly enough. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, because it was actually a funny movie. It was actually the first movie he's done in a while that I've really liked.
Wow, you and I are on very different camps on that.
Because at least it had comedy.
I mean,
like, he does comedy well. And
I mean, to me, like, if you look at only talking about the modern era that starts with Big Short, right? I love Big Short. I will
one of the most overrated movies of all time.
Vice, I did not like. Still haven't rewatched it. Don't Look Up was so just so preachy, and like, to me, and maybe it's because I know what the metaphor is. If you know Adam McKay's politics, thus you immediately know what metaphor is, and so it just.
But I thought it was great. It was like him meeting me halfway. He's like, I'll do a metaphor. I'm like, cool. I like science fiction. I like that. I think that's cool. Look, do a metaphor. That's awesome. And that's why I think he was pissed off, because he's like, not everybody got my metaphor. Now people are upset about astronomy, not about climate change.
I mean, to me, the thing that annoyed me about the movie is it's so nihilistic to the point of, to me, the message of the movie was give up. Nothing's going to get better. Just give up.
Isn't that the resounding thought in Hollywood?
No, the resounding thought is you got to keep fighting, right? But
is it?
But
it doesn't count, right? Like, Hollywood's a very nihilistic place.
I'll tell you the most hilarious thing about the rhetoric of that movie that surrounded it. It came out the exact same time that the fourth Matrix movie came out. And I will never forget how everyone was afraid to talk about the new Matrix movie and either shit on it or really praise it because of the gender politics that surround it. But then everyone started talking about Don't Look Up, and it ended up turning into this. Suddenly, everyone was like, I did not expect Don't Look Up to be the movie I'd be afraid to talk about on Twitter, because everyone had a weird political opinion on Don't Look Up, and if you didn't fall in the right line of someone's opinion on what you need to think about Don't Look Up, you got screamed at. I got screamed at for not liking that movie. No one said shit about my opinion on The Matrix, which I kind of like. I thought was okay.
Because
good,
no one saw it. People saw Don't Look Up. They didn't see the new Matrix.
No one saw
movie.
The Matrix. No one saw
nobody.
The Matrix.
Yeah, nobody saw The Matrix. So it's like nobody has an opinion about the fucking Pet Cemetery version of The Matrix.
There are parts of it I really enjoy.
I still haven't seen it.
Really?
No.
It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
It's just.
It's not even the third one in terms of just like the vision. But
I like the third
moments.
one. The only one that I didn't like was the second one, and not because it wasn't good. It was just way too long.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
Like that one is like, you know, there are some movies. All right, bold take. Sometimes you need a Harvey Weinstein.
I got you.
Sometimes you need somebody to say, fuck you, I'm editing your movie down to an hour and a half. I don't care who you are. I don't care how many Oscars you've won. I don't care what it is. I'm editing it down to an hour and a half. Now, that is the limit to which I endorse Harvey Weinstein. that is the limit to which.
I will do you a favor before I go. I will give you a better analogy for the future. Because I was funny just listening to the latest Junk Food Cinema yesterday, where they covered the Black Cauldron. And Jeffrey Katzenberg, who was running Disney when they were making that movie, went in and literally went into the editing room and edited that movie down to 90 minutes and cut out a lot of things that make that movie make sense. So for the future, instead of Harvey Weinstein, you can just use Jeffrey Katzenberg.
That's not as funny, though.
Fair.
Not as funny.
I'm just, if you want to save yourself some headache.
No, I like to just Harvey Weinstein's gangrenous penis just pointing the way to an hour and 45-minute movie.
All right, I'm gonna go.
All right, see you, Meryl. Bye. I'll tell you what, we've had crazy viewership on Twitter today. Twitter is the vast majority of our audience. So if you are joining us on the X, then welcome to the show. Elon going back and forth with OpenAI last night. Elon has sued OpenAI. OpenAI responded with emails, with receipts, saying that it was Elon who suggested taking the company private, and specifically it merging into Tesla, when OpenAI said no, and they couldn't come to terms with him essentially being the CEO of OpenAI. He left. What I put up on Twitter last night was he ended one of his emails saying, "I hope I'm wrong." To which I responded, "Well, I've got great news." Turns out he was wrong, because he believed Google was going to run AI. He was going to run AGI. And yeah, turns out OpenAI was the way forward. They just needed a crap ton of money. Oh yeah. No, come on. You know, I gotta bring it for the people. Gotta bring it for the people. Unfortunately, though, that's gonna be it here for today, because I gotta get ready for We're Not Wrong. If you have not subscribed to We're Not Wrong, then please go ahead and do that. OpenAI is getting housed by Gemini. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not what I've seen, but I do think that we're going to live in a world where there's a bunch of different AI things. I think that anybody who thinks that there's going to be one winner in this is silly. Yeah, we're over 400 on Twitter. Look at that. Wingling diggly ding dong do. Yeah. I mean, if you're following me, then give me a follow there on Twitter. We will next stream. I don't think I'm going to stream on Friday because the PX3 episode is going to be later than normal, and I'm going to do it all on the State of the Union. So I'm going to be pulling clips and playing clips and doing some State of the Union history. I'm really going to be in my Howard Mortman bag for Friday's show. So I think I'm going to work on that on Friday. But my Super Tuesday deep dive episode will come out on the Patreon either today or tomorrow, depending on how much time I get today. But we will see. I will not be live streaming the State of the Union. This was a total gaffe on my part. My wife, there's a restaurant that my wife has really, really wanted to go to. You got to book months in advance. She booked tomorrow night, and I totally forgot it was the State of the Union. This is why I need an AI assistant. Is this date good? And then the AI looks at all my shit and says, I don't know. Is it the State of the Union? And I go, oh, no. Don't do that. Over under on Biden gaffes during the State of the Union. I would set it low. I think they're going to roll him out, as Michael Cohen likes to say, 2 nights sleep and a shot in the ass at B12. I think he's going to be on point. So I would set the line on gaffes at 0.5 if he makes, because I'm not saying stumbles or him doing the like he ran out of things to say, but he holds up his hands as if he's like gonna fight somebody. When he's like, I want to order a Big Mac and fries and he makes that face. He's like he's mad, but sometimes it's like, sometimes he's talking about somebody and he does it. Sometimes he just does it because he runs out of steam. I think like he's going to do that stuff like that. He's going to stumble and like slur a little bit, but I don't think he's going to make gas. I don't think he's going to have a Mitterrand. I don't think he's going to have a Helmut Kohl gaffe. Yeah, I don't think he goes that. I don't think he goes that far. Okay, guys. Till next time, I will see you.